Have you seen that new design for the new phone? It's called the Fold. Like I think it's the Galaxy Fold.
No.
It's essentially two phones. Like you can use it closed, so it's like a normal phone, but then you open it and it's like an iPad, but it's a phone.
Uh, that seems.
What is your thought on that?
All I'm gonna think about is when you fold it out, there's a line down the middle where they come
They,
together.
I saw like a review on it. It's a little bit, but it's mostly just it's pretty flat because that's a whole screen. Hey, thanks for watching the video this week. This week, to start off, we're gonna finish our story. Last week we left with a little cliffhanger
Mm-hmm.
um, about our
That
summer
job,
jobs.
yeah, that we had.
We said there was two incidences that we were gonna bring up. One was the names that we put in their driveway, and if you
Mm-hmm.
want to hear that story, you can go back watch.
Mm-hmm. Our last week's
Yeah,
episode.
and so this week, um, I know the next topic was um, we worked at this family's. We did landscaping for them, but they would just leave us at their house, and so we were kind of there by ourselves. And we would finish up early. We talked about this in the last video,
Mm-hmm.
but um, one of the things that we decided to do one day because it was really hot was
Jump in their
um,
indoor pool.
oh yeah, that they had kind of like a small pond, and then they had a indoor pool too. But like they would leave one of the doors unlocked so we could get in there, not because they want us to go in, but like just because that's in case we had to go in or something.
Mm-hmm.
And one day we're like, let's go, let's just jump in the pool to cool off because we were out in the sun really warm. And we're like, we don't have bathing suits or anything, so we decided to strip down to our boxers and just jump in the pool. This is kind of incriminating, but so we took a dip in their pool in our boxers. I don't
Yeah,
know if I
it
hope they
was,
didn't have. They probably didn't. They didn't
but
have
it
any
was good.
security
We were
films or
like
anything.
sunburnt and stuff from being in the sun all day. It was good for our skin.
Mm-hmm.
That saltwater pool,
Mm-hmm.
good for the skin. So,
Oh,
I hope that was worth waiting a week for. Anyways,
um,
so what are we talking about today?
we're gonna talk about WiseWorks, our company,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of how it started. I know you probably, if you're interested in these videos we do, you might have been following us for a little bit. You might. We're not super. We haven't had this for a long time, but um, it means you're interested in us. White, if you clicked on this video. So, um, I guess how it started. You're older than me, so you went to school first, and you kind
Yeah.
of had the idea first. I know we both growing up loved films, and so we both were into that and kind of knew that we wanted to go towards that path.
Mm-hmm.
But um, you're older, so you kind of started first, I guess. And
Yeah.
so you can take it how.
But when I decided that I wanted to do videos or filmmaking as a career when I was probably in 10th or 11th grade in high school, and we started messing around with videos like we told in a couple weeks ago um, in the video talking about our first film and everything. That was what sparked the interest, and then from there we just kept going, and so by the time I was in somewhere between 10th and 11th grade, I decided I wanted to actually do this as a career. One of the things that got me so inspired and obsessed with the filmmaking thing was actually the behind the scenes stuff for Lord of the Rings, um, where I watched all 10 hours worth of behind the scenes for the Lord of the Rings stuff. And I went in online and I rewatched stuff that was posted on YouTube and stuff from those. And that's kind of what sparked my interest. I just love the aspect of like being on a film set and creating something and making something really cool. And so I came up when I first before I even graduated, I started coming up with like, okay, what do I want to do with filming? Do I want to try to work in Hollywood? And it was a pretty quick no. I don't really like the the whole Hollywood scene very much. But I did want to do films, and I wanted to do something creatively and original. And so I was like, I also really enjoy the idea of starting a company, starting being entrepreneur minded, and actually starting from the ground and working up and building something that is kind of like just my vision of it, you know. And so I was like, I want to do films and I want to start a company. I'm just going to combine the two. And so I decided I wanted to do a filmmaking company, and I started working on names and trying to figure out all the different things that are, you know, relevant to trying to come up with a company name. And actually, I worked on that for a number of years. I went through college. I didn't have a company name, and I went through my first year-long job before I came up with a company name. What were you thinking throughout that process? Where was your mind when because I had moved away and I worked at a camp for a year right after I did a year of college.
I know my thought was at that point, I remember kind of in high school and kind of growing up, like, we would make films with our friends. We talked about, there's actually probably, I think it's this channel that we kind of reacted to some of those videos. I know that during that time, I loved film, like going into making films. I've always loved just like watching films, creating, just a part of being that industry. And it was something that I always liked too. But I know at one point, it almost, not that I got burnt out, but like every time someone would come over, they would want to make a new film.
Like all of our friends.
But it wasn't like the reason why I got burnt out, because like one friend would want to make a film, then they would come over and we'd make a film, and then another friend, they would leave, another friend would come. So it was like all these different friends wanted to make films, but we're the point piece. Yeah, we're the point making the film. So we were in every film to where they weren't getting burned out because it was several different people, but it was always us.
Yeah.
And partly because I know when we talked about time getting into films, our first film, I would have the randomest roles. I wouldn't ever, because I knew how to work with the camera, I'd always be the technical person or this. So I know there was like a year or two, probably around the same time, that I'm like, I just want to not do films. So I didn't do any films at all at that point. So I didn't do any things, and that was when you were kind of going to school at that point. I mean, not going to school, you had graduated, and then you were working at the camp. And then later on, I'm like, what? I have to do something with my life because I'm graduated now. So then I was like, I've gotten past the point where I was just almost burned out from films, and I'm like, I actually loved films, and I loved films during that time. There was something else that kept me from wanting to make films. It wasn't because I didn't like films. So then I'm like, I'm going to make films. So I think at that point, I'm like, what? I want to kind of do some kind of film. So I was taking a course that was kind of audio stuff, audio recording. I was going to do like the sound part of film. But then you encouraged me, I know, to take a course. It was teleproduction.
Yeah.
That kind of, just to see what part of the film that I wanted to do, if I really wanted to get into audio. Take this course first, and then if I did, then pursue that. But when I did, I'm like, I like it to an extent, probably not to just do that. I like more of, a broad thing. So, and then that's what kind of put me into wanting to do films again more.
Yeah. When you were saying that you got burnt out, I realized it was around the same time when I was probably a senior in high school. We were doing all these weird little videos. There was a point where you started getting burnt out. You didn't want to make anything. I was like, I don't want to make anything that I don't put effort into. You know what I mean? And I wanted to create something good. I didn't want to create just little dumb things.
And we weren't getting anything out of it. It was it was basically for
it was a hobby
friends
for a while.
When they would come over. So we did that, and then you started starting Wiseworks.
So So after I got back from the camp that I was working at for a year, I did like video media and stuff for that camp. I was like, I need to nail down an actual name for what I want the company to be called, and then we can build around that, start giving it purpose and start giving it flesh to it. And I went through, I think it was probably a week process of me just like writing out all different kinds of names and bouncing it off people. And I was like, I really like the name of making it something that is personal to me and the family. But I didn't want to just call it like Wisner Films, because that's like something that Lucas did. And I know Walt Disney is literally just his name. And so I was like, what's a cool iteration of that? And so the word wise obviously is in our last name, which is a blessing. And so I was like, well, I can use the word wise. What am I going to do for that? And so I went through a whole bunch of different things using the word wise, and then I ended up landing on works, and it has a couple cool meanings to it. Works as in it's projects that are being worked on, works as in like active doing something, and then also works as in like that works, you know what I mean? Like it's successful, it has purpose, it actually completes what it's set out to do, you know what I mean? And so those ideas around it I really liked, and so I landed on the word Wise Works, and it was cool because it was WW. It just sort of rolled off the tongue, and so I landed on it and I committed to it, and I'm like, the company's going to be called Wise Works. So and then from then on I started making short films and other projects under the name, and I got an email and stuff of that nature, and started doing even doing like commercial online promos for companies and individuals under the name and stuff. And so, but so what was your thoughts during that time period when I was coming up with it?
I know when you were coming up with it, that was kind of, I was going to school and then was getting out. I know at that time you were making short films, but you weren't actually working kind of to pursue film. You were working kind of like at a truck place, and I saw that as like, I want to do this more actively than you were. I know at one point I'm like, I want to almost start my own company. I don't want to be part of, because I want more almost. But then I realized, I'm like, that's stupid. Like, we can do this together, and I can do stuff under the same, build it a lot better together. So I eventually came in and started working with WiseWorks and doing that. And that was when I didn't help you with Path to Crimson, but then I helped you with The Hike after that. And so
it was in between that time period that you decided you wanted to get on board. And so that WiseWorks up to this point, and even now, we're at a constant state of trying to figure things out and trying to create stuff and trying to create business plans and what is it that we're working towards specifically, and to be able to get to the point where we can create films and create entertainment that is actually being self-supported. And I know it's probably going to be a long process of getting to that point, but that's something that we're working towards. And so it's been a little bit rocky here and there, because obviously we're just working jobs and such that we are able to, and we have been for a number of years now, and just while also trying to stay active in creating stuff that we can post here on our YouTube channel or sell on our website. And so that's kind of what the process of WiseWorks getting started has been. A little bit of the foundation of WiseWorks. Talk a little bit about what you think the WiseWorks core values are and stuff, about what we want to do.
Well, WiseWorks, we've always kind of put our, I guess, Christian values into it, but we don't want WiseWorks. You see a lot of cheesy Christian films. So we want WiseWorks to have a good, like, values to where there's films that are, doesn't have a lot of cussing, not a lot of, like, sexual content, nudity, and all this, but yet not making it. It doesn't have to just be this cheesy Christian
Mm-hmm.
film. We can create content that's entertaining for people, and
Mm-hmm.
they actually want to watch it.
Yeah.
And then, but it's still clean.
Yeah. So there's one thing with the Christian films that you're talking about. I've been asked a number of times, like, are you going to get into like Christian movies? There's a number of reasons why no. Is the biggest reason why is I'd be adding to a genre of movies that I right now don't really agree with because it's being done so terribly. And also, I don't think Christian movies are that effective in the entertainment spectrum. We're not really looking to change the world. We're looking to maybe physically what we can do with our company could possibly change a lot of aspects of the world, but not our entertainment. The stuff that we create is not, we're not looking to change the world with that. We're looking to entertain people. And so if we're making Christian films, then we are limiting our audience, honestly, to a Christian audience, you know? Most of the time they become about feel-good movies, and any people who are not in the Christian faith are going to not resonate with it at all. They're not going to enjoy it, and ultimately they're not going to be entertained. They're just going to be confused and probably a little, disconnected and not interested. And so we're not looking to entertain Christians. We're looking to entertain people, and that's our goal. And we do take some of our moral stances into the work. That doesn't necessarily mean we don't do some edgy things, but at the same time, we don't want to not be true to what we believe,
Yeah.
and create stuff that we think probably we shouldn't be creating. But at the same time, we're not going to fall into a genre of like, oh, we're a Christian company and all that different areas. So that's kind of like our morals behind it.
Yep.
But our number one moral is our number one striving point is creating excellent entertainment. And so that's kind of where we land as a company, and as we grow, that's where we're going to continue striving for, honestly. So
Yep. So that's just a little bit about WiseWorks. We wanted to take this time to talk about that, and so you can be kind of
help you guys get to know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Cool.
We're using YouTube right now as a platform to grow an audience, to get you guys who don't know us very well seeing us and hearing us and seeing what we want to do, and choose to be our audience, choose to be a member of an audience that we're trying to grow here. We're not growing or promoting ourselves. We are growing and promoting the company and what it stands for and the entertainment that we want to create. So,
So thanks for watching this week.
and if you're
interested, you can like and subscribe to Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So.
And we also have a website, wiseworksent.com. If you want to support us, if you like what we had to say, you can actually go and buy a short film on the website right now. It's called Dying of the Leaves. It's a really interesting short film we did. It runs about 55 minutes or so, and it's $5 right now. So you go to wiseworksent.com, go to the shop button, and you can order it today and get yourself a DVD copy.
Okay. So thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe.